This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's episode of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. We are back at it after a week off. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Strozinski. On today's show, a WWE Hall of Famer breaks a hip. I'm going to tell you all about that. What's going on with Cody Rhodes? Nobody seems to know, so he'll probably show up at Madison Square Gardens tonight. We're going to discuss all of that. We had a newsworthy AEW Dynamite. Yeah, big news breaking on AEW Dynamite. We've got this build to WrestleMania with WWE. Impact's got a great show going on Saturday night. Of course, we're going to have to give you our predictions for Revolution, which takes place on Sunday. A massive weekend of wrestling this week, and doing it with me, as always, he's the one, he's the only, he is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
What a week, cuz. Oh, my God. There was so much to talk about. Headlined by Vince McMahon, doing his first interview in 15 years, and it came out somewhat well. Now, would it have gone the way in which I or you would have conducted it? Absolutely not. But I think in regards to Pat McAfee landing an interview with Vince McMahon, I thought that he did a great job of making Vince human, got him comfortable enough so that he was all cussing, having a good time. But it wasn't this in-depth, all-revealing kind of thing. It was just more, giving Vince his due from an employee and kind of just talking about his ideas, which did make some news. I thought it was great. I listened to it live for the entire thing. I will tell you this. Pat tried to get Vince off after an hour, and Vince was like, "What, am I done?" And it kind of signaled to Pat, "Let's keep going." And he got almost another 40 minutes out of it. And I thought that 40 minutes, if you feel like you're crunched for time, watch after 45 minutes, and oh my gosh, it's just revealing. It gives you insight into his thinking, and really for me, the main thing I took away from it is that Vince, once he took the company public, it's a business. The personal relationships, the idea of creating these megastars, he feels like he has to answer to shareholders, and we knew that. And look, if he feels like an idea doesn't work, they just move on. And it's nothing personal, and that's just the way it is. He came across as a business person, and the line that I think made the news was, he said, WWE superstar sounds a lot better than professional wrestler. And in essence, that categorized everything that you, I, Kenny have complained about. AEW presents something different, WWE presents something different, and that's where we're at.
Yeah, I think the thing that stood out most to me from that interview wasn't just that line, but it was also him saying, basically, if you don't get over, is it the company's fault or is it your fault? And referring to all the releases as dead weight. I mean, you got a guy like Keith Lee who ends up going to AEW, and he's fantastic. When he was in NXT, he was fantastic. When he was on the main roster, it just didn't work. So was Keith Lee really dead weight, or was it just the gimmick that didn't really work? And I think with Vince, the way he kind of looks at it is, I'm going to give you what I'm going to give you. It's your job to figure it out, and it's your job to make it work. If you've got something better, bring it to me. We'll talk about it, but there's no guarantee that I'm going with it. And to me, that was a little bit startling and a little bit shocking, especially when you talk about over the last, year and a half, maybe 2 years, they've let go of over 100 people, close to 200 people. And to just refer to those people as dead weight is kind of shocking to me. And you're right. I think it is more that business mentality. It's, look, we've got to answer to shareholders. We've got profit margins that we are worried about. And this isn't necessarily a family. Even though he brought family up when he talked about Undertaker, this isn't necessarily a family. This is a business, and this is how we run it. I mean, he had to fire his own son. And he even talked about that. Like, if you're not working for the business, we're just going to let you go. And I think that was a direct shot at Shane. How did you take that? What did you think about that when he basically mentioned, if you're not basically pulling in the same direction as the company, you're gone?
Yeah, for me, when he said that, I just immediately thought of Pat McAfee. I said, oh, okay, Vince likes Pat because he's the hot new toy and the audience likes him. And my first thought was, does he really like Pat McAfee? And I think he liked the idea of this flamboyant entertainer, but does he really like a guy that's wearing tight pants, that's just kissing his ass? I mean, no, they don't relate. They're two exactly opposite people. But he likes the exposure. He likes the idea of, look what show he goes on. He doesn't even go on his own network. He doesn't even go on Stone Cold's show. Think of that. He doesn't even go to a performer's show to do his first interview in 15 years. He goes to Pat McAfee because the audience is huge. They're doing everything digitally. And really, bottom line, he realized if I'm going to start promoting WrestleMania, the biggest platform that I can do it in is at Pat McAfee. So I think that for me, it's just strictly business. And I get it. It stinks for the wrestler. It stinks for kind of the way in which we grew up wrestling and the tight-knit kind of community nature of it, but it's a business. And really, that's the thing that you recognize, but sometimes you don't always say is WWE is so big, they're going to get a big check from Madison Square Garden on Saturday. They've already gotten a big check from the Saudis. They're making money hand over fist. They made $2 billion deals in the last 5 years. They don't worry about Keith Lee. And it's nice. He doesn't care about competition. He knows that his company is profitable, so much so that it's going to be around. So he doesn't worry about any of that. And that's just the way it was. And what an interview. I thought it was good. It'll be a long-lasting thing that people will dissect for years to come. But I'm just glad right now, bottom line, that AEW is there because it's a healthy alternative. It's different, and it makes it fun to have two distinctly different companies doing things in the sport that we love to watch. But when we turn our attention to Raw, I thought going into WrestleMania, the shows have been kind of lacking until this Raw. I thought that it was a lot better in terms of this week, maybe a little bit of a charge heading into WrestleMania. I thought that Raw was pretty much entertaining, headlined by two heel turns.
Yeah, I mean, two massive heel turns, too. You get Edge turning on AJ Styles. You get Damian Priest turning on Finn Balor. And then Damian Priest grabs the microphone and basically blames it all on the fans, which is so WWE. Look, I thought it was a fantastic way to end a Raw, and I think it was a little bit jarring to see Edge go back to that dark side, that guy who's basically willing to risk it all to get whatever it is that he wants. And he wants AJ Styles, and he wants AJ Styles the dog. He wants the guy who is also willing to risk it all, the guy who is willing to lay it all on the line, the guy who basically carried TNA. Didn't say it, but that's what he meant. I think it's going to be an interesting match for WrestleMania. I don't necessarily know if I kind of liked how we got there. At some point, somebody's got to be a heel, somebody's got to be a babyface, right? That's kind of how this business works. It almost felt like with the Edge AJ Styles heel turn, it almost felt like it was kind of forced. You go low blow from Edge to AJ Styles, and it's like, okay, he's obviously the bad guy. And I felt like you could have did it a little bit different. You didn't have to go that way. But then to go to the concerto and to do it multiple times, I thought was great. It was nice icing on the cake. Damian Priest turning on Finn Balor, thought it was good. You've been kind of getting this edgy Damian Priest. Is he the Damian or is he the Priest? You know, good guy, bad guy. Almost seems like a man torn with himself. So him turning, it felt more natural. Which one did you think did it better, and which one did you think hurt a little bit more from a fan's perspective? Because I think AJ turning kind of hurt some fans.
Yeah, I thought that Damian Priest could have been used a lot better. I mean, he loses the belt to Finn Balor and automatically turns. I think he naturally will be a better heel. I just think that maybe you could have presented it in a different way where he just destroys Finn Balor. You know, they've done it a couple ways where they do it through a promo or they do it through physicality. I would have actually reversed it. I would have did it through, I would have had Damian Priest destroy Finn Balor, and then I would have had Edge talk his way into becoming a heel, saying, this guy's phenomenal. You guys think that this guy's phenomenal after all I've done in this business? This is the guy that represents, and then he could have used the line where he said about AJ Styles being a tag team bitch for a year. I think you didn't have to maybe overtly make him a heel, and then you could have had little actions over the course of a couple of weeks where Edge cost AJ Styles some matches and things like that. So I just would have reversed it. I thought both of them being heel, I understand it. This was one of those rare instances where WWE Edge last week said, I'm looking for something phenomenal, and most people the thing is that most people just want to see Cody Rhodes in any shape or form, and me personally, I would have much rather seen Cody Rhodes versus Edge at WrestleMania, in regards to that match. But AJ Styles, for me, it just lends to the fact that I think he has to go over at Mania. It has to be something where you can't have, you can't have AJ Styles lose at WrestleMania to Edge.
Yeah, it'll be weird, right? Because now what do? You've got the superstar who has come back, and he's done a pretty good job in his return. Like, you're getting probably some of your best matches from Edge that you've gotten in his career. But now you've got a superstar in AJ Styles where I'm not sure how you necessarily put a loss on him, and you have him come back from this. I mean, Edge did a fantastic job kind of laying out what's gone on with him over the course of the last year. He really has been in a meddling tag team. His job was to get Omos over. Omos is horrible in the ring. Omos can't cut a promo. There was really no saving Omos, yet Omos is still hired by WWE. It doesn't make sense, especially when they just let go of a ton of superior talent. So it's really weird because I don't know how this match should go and how you should facilitate the ending of this match, because AJ should go over. But at the same point, I almost feel like Edge called out for this. Edge wants this. Edge could possibly go over as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see kind of how this builds as we make our way towards WrestleMania. Something that I think was a little bit shocking, at least three of us, me, you, and Kenny, SmackDown on Friday night. We have a Intercontinental Championship match. And I guess this is one way to get Sami Zayn versus What's-His-Nuts from Jackass into a match.
Johnny Knoxville!
Yeah, that guy. Thanks. Into a match at WrestleMania, because now that's been made official. But Ricochet ends up going over and wins the Intercontinental Championship over Sami Zayn, who basically held it for 2 weeks? Really, really weird, right? Like, it's just, what are we doing here? Like, to me, it felt like Sami Zayn was that transitional championship so we could build towards a random-ass match at WrestleMania, which is probably the worst thing you can do, and is probably the worst situation you could put a guy like Ricochet in, because I think we all believe Ricochet is a fantastic wrestler. Ricochet is absolutely great. For his pinning move last night, I mean, it made Alyssa stand up out of her seat and be like, oh my God, did you just see that? So we all know he's a great wrestler. We all know he can do fantastic things in the ring. But I just don't feel like he's going to get pushed. I feel like he himself is just he's just a placeholder as well. They don't really value the Intercontinental Championship. The only one who was really valued in that role was The Miz. How crazy and how shocking was this? What do you see Ricochet doing?
It was shocking because all you had to do was wait 2 weeks to give it to him at WrestleMania. He gets a moment. Well, what happened to the WrestleMania moment for the IC belt? Sami Zayn, I mean, for me, I just focus more on Zayn. It's like, first of all, the belt still sucks. It always has sucked. And now that I keep looking at it every time it comes out, I go, God, it's more awful than what I thought it was. And it's just one of those things where you go, okay, it's a surprise. It's a swerve. Great. I think that WWE believes that Sami Zayn is more valuable as the guy chasing than the guy that gets to hold it. I mean, my God, for 2 weeks. But it's good. I mean, we've all said Ricochet has been What was weird, though, is I don't know how much into the dirt sheets you have been into, but I wasn't as surprised as you boys were, because on Thursday, in my brief reading of the dirt sheets, I came across the headline, Vince McMahon all of a sudden wants to push Ricochet. I was like, okay. And, I think that he values Ricochet's work ethic, and maybe the fact that they've given him so much shit and he's made it his own maybe has garnered him some increased respect for Vince. But this is what happens. Vince finds somebody, he's like, Pat, what do you like? He's like, that Ricochet's pretty cool. All right, let's make him the IC champ. And it's like, all right, that's the way, maybe one of those focus groups that Vince was talking about was like, man, that guy that flips into the ring is pretty cool. Let's do something with him. And they're like, all right. And it's, nothing.
This is the problem I have with WWE, though. It almost feels like their belts are just props.
Right.
It's a way to signify who you should be rooting for or who you should want to see. It doesn't necessarily mean that's the person we want to see. It doesn't necessarily mean that is the person who is deserving of that belt. It's I don't know. I feel like WWE, and this probably goes back more to it just being a business now instead of an actual wrestling company. It's so convoluted with so many different things that it sometimes steals away from the action and from, I think, what we as fans really want to see. And that's a little bit frustrating.
Yeah. It is. It's just one of those things with Ricochet. Let's see how he does with the belt. He's worthy of it. It just, like you said, it's just part of a story. It doesn't have any grand meaning. It wasn't built up properly. And that's just what it is that WWE, another story, and that's what they wanted to tell. What did you make of the ending with Ronda Rousey and Charlotte? A little bit wonky with the way in which, Charlotte always in heels and Ronda trying to do the move. Maybe could have been a little bit dangerous with that roll up into her submission. Ronda Rousey slapping it on Charlotte, but it did okay. I thought, for me, the highlight of SmackDown was Roman Reigns again. Oh my God, man. His build up, his role and everything has been great. I gave SmackDown a B+.
Yeah, his promo was absolutely incredible. I'll be honest with you. This show, to me, was pretty boring. It was pretty awful. I didn't even realize that the Ronda Rousey and Sonya Deville match was the main event. The only reason I knew it was the main event, I was waiting for whatever was coming next, and the only reason I knew that it was over was because my watch basically said, hey, AEW Dynamite's on. We're live. And I was like, oh, shit. I looked at the time. I was like, oh, yeah, it's 10 o'clock. So we're done with this, which is cool. I thought it was a little bit wonky. I didn't think it was a good ankle lock on Charlotte. I thought Ronda Rousey did a poor job selling a bad knee, especially when she got chop blocked. I think Ronda Rousey has been given so much so quickly. She hasn't really fine-tuned anything. And then she went away for 2 years, had a baby, came back, and really still hasn't fine-tuned anything. There's a way to sell. There's a way to get things over. We all agree she's horrible on a microphone. She is intimidating. She does have that. She does have a natural presence in the ring because the fans know her from UFC and they really like her and they gravitate towards her. That's great. But there are things that she does as a wrestler that just does not connect and just does not compute. And I thought the main event, and I'm using finger quotes for main event, I thought it was poor. I thought the match with Sonya Deville was poor. And usually Sonya Deville can get a pretty decent match out of a wet paper bag. I'm not putting all this on Ronda. I think it was a mix of both of them, as well as having Charlotte at ringside. I thought the ankle lock was poor at best. To me, it just didn't work. It feels really forced. We'll get there. We'll get to WrestleMania. It'll be fine. It'll be what it is. I didn't really enjoy it. All that being said, we opened the show. We said a massive weekend in wrestling. Huge. We've got MSG going on with WWE. That's taking place Saturday night. Saturday night, we also have Sacrifice, which is taking place on Impact Plus. And you are our residential Impact guru. And this looks like it is going to be an absolutely fantastic show. It's headlined by guys like Moose versus Heath Slater. You've got Jay White taking on Alex Shelley, who is a mentor of his. Mickie James, Tasha Steelz, Trey Miguel versus Jake something. This is a jam-packed card. What are some matches that you want to see or that people should be tuning into to watch this Saturday night?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime Jay White steps into the ring, you want to pay attention to it. I thought Impact leading up to it was a great show. I really liked it. If you have a chance to go back, check out the Bullet Club match. I thought it was chaotic, pure old school chaos, with the Bullet Club defeating Violent by Design and the Guerrillas of Destiny. I thought that Impact did a great job of building all the storylines. All the main event players were there, and I think this weekend has a lot to offer everybody in the world of wrestling. But for me, the match I want to see is Moose versus Heath Slater. Remember, Heath Slater has been always that gimmicky character, but through his work in Impact, I think that he has an opportunity to put on a good match versus Moose, and I think it has a chance to win the night. Trey Miguel versus Jake Something has an opportunity to create some great memories and spots. I can't wait to see it. I think that from what this relationship with AEW has provided, I felt like AEW and Impact have both gained from this partnership, and I think that, it just goes to show you that when a pay-per-view shows up, people need to pay attention to it. And if you're not, paying attention, as deeply as Adam and I, just read the reviews, stay up to date, because you're potentially going to see a lot of these Impact stars maybe show up at AEW in the future, at least maybe as part of storylines or as part of maybe promotional matches based on the big news that Adam's going to share in just a few moments here. There's a lot of great angles that could potentially happen now in the future with Impact, with AEW, and potentially another company. So pay attention to these names: Moose, Heath Slater, Jay White, Mickie James, Trey Miguel, Jake Something. These are young up-and-comers that can do a bunch of different things that can resonate in the world of wrestling. Man, cause AEW, when it's just been riding a wave of positivity, creating news, creating buzz, and Tony Khan started the day with a media session saying, hey, there's some great news going to happen this evening on Wednesday on Dynamite, and stay tuned. Somebody point blank asked, regarding it, and he said, no, it's not about the streaming service, but it's going to be big, it's going to be awesome, and then he spent another hour just breaking down ideas and things like that. But, oh my goodness, what an announcement that he made. I think it was cool. I think everybody that was a fan definitely got themselves excited from what they heard.
Yeah, like you said, massive announcement. Tony Khan comes out on AEW Dynamite Wednesday night. He's in the ring with Tony Schiavone and announces that he has purchased Ring of Honor. Now, I was blown away. I thought this was fantastic. I kind of thought this was going to be the announcement. I know there was some back and forth about maybe this was going to be the Owen Hart Memorial Cup that they're building towards, but I kind of figured it was going to be this. And he has now purchased Ring of Honor. He is the sole owner of it. And the thing that's interesting about it, he buys Ring of Honor. He acquires no talent with it. He basically buys the media library and the naming rights of Ring of Honor, as well as all of the video production equipment, the cameras. Doesn't really get any of the staff, though. So he kind of has a shell of a company here. And reports are he paid upwards of $20 to $40 million for this company. What I think is so important in all of this is something I didn't realize until the other day. The very first all-out show, the one that put AEW on the map, the one that Cody Rhodes built, that program was owned by Ring of Honor. The very first AEW show ever owned by Ring of Honor. So it was so important for Tony Khan to make this deal happen. Could you imagine if WWE made this deal happen? Could you imagine if WWE owned a part of AEW? How crazy would that be? So it was so important for him to get this deal done so that way he could have his very first show. Now, it wasn't his very first show, but it was the company's very first show ever done. I think it's fantastic. It's a great move. Ring of Honor was one of those things where it was just WWE for a long time. WCW had gone away. TNA/Impact was just it kept shooting itself in the foot. Ring of Honor gave you something different. On top of that, Ring of Honor gave you stars. You look at WWE's roster, it is populated by guys from Ring of Honor. You look at AEW, it is populated by guys who cut their teeth in Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor was that developmental program that got you to the next level and was absolutely fantastic at doing it. Some of the best storylines that you've ever seen came out of Ring of Honor. Absolutely great. My question is, how do they utilize this company? What do they do going forward, and what is best for Ring of Honor?
We talked about it in our group chat, maybe potentially developmental, great matches, things like that. But bottom line, I think it just at the very basic level, it should be used as part of a streaming service. tell stories, have some of the wrestlers that were there, like Daniel Bryan and Adam Cole and Adam Hangman Page, just tell stories of what it was like to be at Ring of Honor, because a lot of people still don't know what that meant. You know what I mean? Because they would see the likes of Seth Rollins and see the likes of Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan in WWE show up, and they'd hear about it but not know the full story. So you got to at least tell the story in a certain kind of way to get people into it. And I think you need to run it as an independent promotion that can be done where you have a lot of special attractions. It's just got to be run as a promotion, something that can be what it was. I think that for Tony Khan, I don't believe he paid $40 million for it, but I think having that belief that he paid a lot for it definitely makes it so that it's perceived like it was a big deal. Dude, all that footage, you can tell stories. I mean, it's great because you could have, you could have Adam Cole tell the story of AJ Styles. Look at this guy. Look what he became. And you can just do so much with it. That's why I'm surprised WWE didn't value it, but they're not doing as many documentaries as they've done in the past. So they didn't value it. I think it's great for Tony Khan. It's great for everybody involved that Ring of Honor will continue. And I think it led into some momentum going into Dynamite and to Rampage.
Yeah, I thought both Dynamite and Rampage were fantastic shows this week. I thought they were both great go-home shows, really getting you prepped for Revolution on Sunday. What story has you most compelled? Because it could be any number of things. They did a great job with the CM Punk MJF. They did a great job with the Hangman Page Adam Cole. They did a great job with the Jurassic Express, the Elites, and Red Dragon storylines. Like, there are so many awesome storylines. Like, this is storytelling at its finest, what you're getting with AEW, that both Dynamite and both Rampage basically crammed all this into roughly 3 hours, presented it to you, and get you hyped for what is a jam-packed card on Sunday. What storyline has you most invested and most interested?
Yeah, there's two. It's definitely the MJF CM Punk. I thought that MJF kicking him in the nuts was great. The blood, all the violence with it was great. But for me, you didn't even mention Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho. I thought that promo was intriguing in regards to setting up their feud, and Chris Jericho just by and large doing his thing again, putting over somebody in regards to Eddie Kingston in a promo saying, look, let's do this. You're jealous. You knew you couldn't be at your best. And Eddie Kingston looks pissed. And so that's going to be great. I just think you said it. The card itself is going to be great all the way across the board. And, even the Hangman Adam Page, Adam Cole match, because it kind of lends to the fact that Adam Cole should be the winner, but I don't think he's going to leave the weekend as the champion. So I can't wait to see Sunday and how this card shakes out at Revolution.
Yeah, I think the MJF CM Punk match probably has everybody on their edge of their seat, especially with the emotional promo that you got from MJF last week to now this week, where he basically kicks CM Punk in the nuts and then bloodies him and tells him he's a snake. You should have seen this coming. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And CM Punk just covered, wearing a white T-shirt, which, great job on AEW to help sell all the blood. Wear the white T-shirt, bleed all over it, helps get it all over. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. It was a great job to really build this. This has been going on for a long time. This has been a long-term story and a long-term build, and we're going to finally get the payoff here at Revolution. I thought it was absolutely great. I think that the Hangman Page and the Adam Cole match looks to be fantastic as well. Now that you have this archive of Ring of Honor, imagine what you could have done, we'll say, a month ago with that information and with the library, because they had a history in Ring of Honor. It was great. Now, if they could quickly put something together for Sunday as far as a package, it'll be outstanding because you can pull from that history.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Right away, we can gain some knowledge, some historical perspective.
Yeah, I think that's another storyline that has you really invested. Now, what do you think is going to be the best match on the card? Because we just kind of laid out some storylines that have history and that have been built, but who do you think is going to tear the house down? Because
I don't know
I
how.
think you got Bryan Danielson. I think you got Jon Moxley. That's a story we didn't even touch. We didn't even talk about. I think that one is going to kill.
That's the one exactly that has the potential for the up and down, the swerve, for the most emotional investment. So that is one I cannot wait to see as well. Do they shake hands at the end? What happens in the match? It's going to be awesome to see. Damn, Bryan Danielson, versus Jon Moxley is going to be amazing.
Yeah, it should be absolutely fantastic. You want to get into some predictions?
Here we go.
Jam-packed card. Let's do it. Here it goes. All right, we're going to start off with the big one. We've got the AEW World Championship match. Hangman Page versus Adam Cole. Who do you think wins this one?
See, for me personally, I think what's best for business is Adam Cole winning, but it doesn't seem like Adam Hangman Page has had his full run. Now, unfortunately for Big E, we got to call it the Big E run. You can't have a Big E run. You got to have a little bit more of a championship run. So for me, give me Adam Hangman Page.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if Adam Cole was to win, it might be best for business, but you're also trying to build and nurture a star here in Hangman Page. I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go Hangman Page on this one. Our next match, we've got Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa for the AEW Women's World Championship. Who do you think wins this one? Mind you, we didn't even talk about this. Thunder Rosa ended up going over on Dynamite in a fantastic match.
See,
who do you got winning this?
I'm torn because I could see Thunder Rosa doing it, and I think that's where I'm going to go with it. I think Britt Baker kind of has had her run. You need to have a little bit of change at the top. You need Britt Baker to be kind of unleashed a little bit, and you do that by having her lose the title. So give me Thunder Rosa.
Wow. I didn't think you were going to go that direction. I'm going Thunder Rosa as well. I'm a huge fan of Thunder Rosa. She is one of my favorite women wrestlers. I think she's done a fantastic job with everything that she has done. She's an interesting story. One day we'll tell the story about Thunder Rosa. I think she's absolutely great. I think, again, you build a star by helping to get them over. Remember, Thunder Rosa beat the hell out of Britt Baker in what was arguably the match of 2021. I think Thunder Rosa wins this one, and you have a new AEW Women's World Championship. Now, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Jurassic Express, the Young Bucks, Red Dragon. It's a triple threat match for the AEW Tag Team Championship. Who do you think wins this?
See, I don't think Red Dragon and Young Bucks are just there yet. I think the next tag team champions are going to be Red Dragon, but Jurassic Express is just at the beginning and the forefront. I think you don't want to have them lose in a triple threat match. I think they retain, but I think Red Dragon gets to have a say in this and have a real opportunity to move forward in the next pay-per-view to have a chance at it. So give me Jurassic Express.
Really, really weird because, again, I didn't think you're going that direction. I'm going Jurassic Express as well. I think you've got too much infighting, and I think there's too much of a story to build there with Red Dragon and the Elite. There's been a lot of contention, and I think at certain points of this match they will team up together to take on Jurassic Express, but I think at the end they're the result of their own undoing, and Jurassic Express comes out the winners. All right, this was a match that was added late on Friday. The House of Black versus Penta, Pac, and Redbeard. We didn't even talk about Redbeard making an appearance. Eric Rowan shows up on Friday night's Rampage. A little bit of a shock. He's been there before, but he now re-debuts. Look, I'm invested in this. I think this is going to be a good story. I'm going to go House of Black on this one. I just think there's too much here. I think what happens is at some point you get Rey Fenix back, and that is when Penta, Rey, and Pac get over.
Absolutely. I think that House of Black, the debut of Buddy Lee, I think is great. It's going to be awesome. And I can't wait to see how they handle it. Redbeard was cool. I thought that, he kind of gave some legitimacy to Penta and Pac, and on Rampage, I thought that was cool that he showed up, and the crowd was really into it. But yeah, House of Black, for me, should get over in this one, and they should get over handily too.
Now, our next match is for the TBS Women's Championship. Jade Cargill taking on Ty Conti. I would love for Ty Conti to win this. I would love to stop hearing Jade Cargill refer to everybody as bitch and use bitch 9 times in a sentence. Like, hey, bitch, I'm going to beat that bitch ass because you ain't that bitch. I'm that bitch. Fuck you, bitch. Like, I'm just kind of tired of hearing it. I don't think Ty Conti wins this. I think Jade Cargill wins this. I think Jade Cargill has the build to be a star. She needs to get better on the microphone or just stop talking, period. But I think Jade Cargill ends up winning this. But I think Ty Conti takes her the distance and gives her a run for her money.
Absolutely. Jade Cargill, way over, way the much better wrestler, and she needs to have her run continue.
All right. The match that I think everybody's most anticipating, dog collar match, CM Punk, MJF. I think this is going to be blood. I think this is going to be guts. I think this is going to be gore. I think CM Punk goes to a place that we haven't seen CM Punk go to in a long, long time. And I think CM Punk comes out the winner in this. I think it's by hook or by crook, CM Punk wins this match.
Exactly. I had going into it, I had thought that it would be MJF getting over again, but then I saw the Rampage promo where right in the middle you have CM Punk sitting there all bloodied, and he just goes into this dark place. Why would you have that if he ends up losing? So for me, it's going to be CM Punk.
All right. Next match, my dog, Eddie Kingston versus the GOAT, my other dog, Chris Jericho. I'm a man torn in this match. I have no idea who wins this. I think they've done a good job selling it, and I think by selling it, they've kind of let you in a little bit as to what's going to probably happen. I think Eddie Kingston gets over on Chris Jericho. I think Chris Jericho in the end has to shake Eddie Kingston's hand. I'm going to go Eddie Kingston on this one.
Absolutely. I think that Eddie Kingston is somebody that needs the rub. I think that Chris Jericho has targeted him as somebody that could use the jump off, and he will get that at the pay-per-view.
All right, this is a tough one. This next one, Bryan Danielson taking on Jon Moxley. Remember, Jon Moxley said, I don't trust people that I don't bleed with. So at some point, I'm assuming Jon Moxley's going to bleed like a stuffed pig in this match. How do you see this one going? It's almost a coin flip, right?
It's exactly a coin flip, but I think that the bigger wrestler, the bigger star has to win. That's Jon Moxley. I think that Bryan Danielson can compete. He can do well. He can do a lot of different things. But you need Jon Moxley to be the guy. You need him to be the kind of the bigger, badder dude here. And then with that win, he can feel comfortable by joining an alliance. Or he can say, hell no, I'm bigger, badder than you. I deserve better, and end that notion right there at the pay-per-view. So it has to be Jon Moxley for me.
So I was going to go opposite of you because, again, it's a coin flip match. Like, you could make a case for either one of these guys winning this match. But the more and more I thought about it, they pulled in that Ring of Honor stuff a couple of weeks ago. And they talked about how Jon Moxley wasn't able to beat Bryan Danielson. I think this is where Jon Moxley goes over. And look, I don't believe in 50-50 booking, and that's not what this is. I think Jon Moxley gets over, beats Bryan Danielson. I think Jon Moxley bleeds all over the place. And I think from there, that's where this story really jumps off. I think this is just a footnote in whatever this story is. So I'm going to go Jon Moxley as well. This is really weird because we have basically been in lockstep through everything. And this is a jam-packed card. We still have, I'm looking at the list right now, we still have 4 matches left. Normally we're done by now. All right, we've got Andrade El Idolo, Isaiah Cassidy, and Matt Hardy taking on Sting, Darby Allin, and Sammy Guevara. On Rampage, they did a fantastic job of selling some dissension between Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin as they opened up Rampage in a fantastic 3-way match where at times they had a team against Andrade El Idolo, but in the end, Sammy Guevara ends up defeating both Darby Allin and Andrade El Idolo. Sammy Guevara extended a hand to Darby Allin. Darby Allin stormed off and said, I am not shaking your hand. So there's a little bit of some dissension there. Who do you think wins this?
I don't see any way in which Sting, Darby Allin, and Sammy Guevara don't win the match. I think that, Matt Hardy, Isaiah Cassidy, and Andrade El Idolo just haven't been doing enough to prove to me that they could go into this match. Now, it sounds like there's some way going to have maybe some dissension between Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara, and that could cost them. But I think that Sting doesn't go into the ring to lose at this point in time in his career.
Yeah, I'm in lockstep with you. I don't know how you don't have those guys win. You've got the TNT champion. You've got Darby Allin, who is super over. You've got Sting, who is forever over. I mean, maybe that's the reason they don't win, but I'm going to pick those guys until you show me otherwise. They're going to get the W here. Now, Face of the Revolution. This is going to be a fantastic match. This is a ladder match. You've got Keith Lee, who's incredible. Orange Cassidy, who is fantastic. Ricky Starks, Will Hobbs, Wardlow, and Christian in this match. I think so much has been built up around Wardlow, and Wardlow possibly winning this match and what it means to MJF. You even had some back and forth on Dynamite where Wardlow was like, yeah, I'm too busy making sure you're winning to worry about my own matches, where MJF then slaps Wardlow in the face, and basically tells him he works for him, doesn't work for AEW. I think Wardlow wins this, and I think this leads to some back and forth with MJF.
Okay. That is my number 2 option. I think that when you look at this list and you see everybody on it, how do you not have Keith Lee not win it?
Yeah.
He
was my number 2. He was my number 2, so I'm there with you.
He's the face of the Revolution. I think that MJF, if he's the true heel, needs to come out and cost Wardlow the opportunity to be the face of the Revolution. So it's got to be Keith Lee in my mind.
Interesting. Now, if either one of us gets this pick right, we'll get a bonus point, because anytime there's a multi-man match like this, we give out that extra bonus point. So you can make up a lot of groundwork here. This match right here could be the difference in 2 points. You can win the whole damn thing plus get that bonus point. All right, Hook versus QT Marshall. This looks like it's going to be a buy-in match. I think we're both going to go Hook on this one.
Hook, baby. Bring out Hook. I think he's great, and he's a burgeoning star. It's going to be fun.
And then we've got our other buy-in match. We've got Layla Hirsch versus Chris Statlander. I'm going to go Chris Statlander. I think she is fantastic. I think she does a really good job getting you invested. What do you got?
Absolutely. I got Chris Statlander. I like what she does, and I think that the women have an opportunity on this card to make a name for themselves. So, in our predictions, we have it all across the board the same, except for when the Face of the Revolution match comes on. Pay attention, because Doc has Keith Lee, Limitless. Dude, his body slam of that jobber was amazing. And he just was like, wow, they positioned him to be a monster. And I thought it was cool to see, Wardlow is an up and comer for sure. I thought that his use over the last few weeks has been amazing. And seeing squash matches done by Wardlow has been done effectively by AEW. So that's the match that will determine how this card goes for Doc and Jock. All right, cuz, hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes.
So Chavo Guerrero called out Tony Khan following his profile being removed from AEW's roster page. Ended up taking to Twitter, where he ended up writing, "That's news to me. I guess having Tony Khan tell me to go film Young Rock Season 2 and my job will be waiting for me when I'm done didn't mean much." Guerrero debuted in 2021 working as Andrade El Idolo's executive consultant. His partnership with Andrade was ended in September after he was attacked by El Idolo, which had Guerrero basically written off TV so he can go film Young Buck, and hasn't been seen since. The plans for AJ Styles and AEW, they had a bit of a storyline that has now been released. AEW had all 3 former Bullet Club members involved, as Dave Meltzer noted in his most recent Wrestling Observer newsletter. He said when AEW started the idea, it was for the final angle of the first TV show to be Gallows and Anderson and Styles to come out with the Young Bucks and Omega and turn on them to start the first ever main event faction feud. But the impression was we had at the time Styles wasn't interested, as he was making big money in WWE, and there's probably going to be a job for him in WWE when it's all said and done. Former UFC heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez was arrested Monday in San Jose, California, following a shooting. According to TMZ Sports, Velasquez was booked on an attempted murder charge after one person was shot at a nearby high school in San Jose around 3 p.m. TMZ noted that Velasquez was the only person arrested. Robert Solana of Mercy News reported Velasquez shot a man who had been charged with molesting a close relative at his home, or a close relative of Vasquez at his in-home daycare. Rumor is Thunder Rosa picked up an injury in this week's bout versus Britt Baker. Rosa in AEW has denied that vehemently that she is hurt. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to Thunder Rosa at Revolution. If you remember, both Doc and myself have her picked. So we'll see what happens as far as an injury goes there. An update on Cody Rhodes and WWE. It sounds like the contract talks have stalled this week. That being said, the inside source told Dave Meltzer that WWE has plans for Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 38. So we'll probably see him at Madison Square Gardens on Saturday. I don't really know what's going to happen there. And WWE Hall of Famer Scott Hall has reportedly recovering from a hip break. He had a fall and broke his hip. According to TMZ, the former pro wrestling promoter Jerry Jarrett wrote on his Facebook page, just got off the phone with my friend Scott Hall. He fell and broke his hip, and he is in the hospital. Prayers to help him recover. Hall is 63 and underwent a hip replacement surgery in 2013 following his WWE Hall of Fame. Our fellow WWE Hall of Famer, Diamond Dallas Page, helped him raise over $80,000 for the procedure and other medical expenses. And that's going to do it for this week's wrestling news and notes.
Thanks, cuz. Make sure to follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. We always enjoy breaking down all things in regards to wrestling. And the biggest news that Adam didn't include, Rampage and Dynamite are coming to LCA. We got to find a way to get there, whether it be through media, whether it be through ticket buying, or figuring out a way to get into the arena. In July, we're going to have a massive, massive thing, and it's going to be fun to have AEW back in Detroit for the first time. It's going to be great. A great opportunity for DocNJock Wrestling, all the local fans here in Detroit. If you've agreed or disagreed with anything that we've said, hit us up on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. Subscribe to our podcast by going to the place that you love finding your favorite podcast and typing in Detroit Sports Podcast. Podcasting time has come to a close. A great hour talking and breaking down professional wrestling. Thanks, cuz. I look forward to breaking it all down, reviewing what ended up happening in Revolution on next week's Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast.